Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Dan Hiscock, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Lieutenant Commander John Ellingham. This evening, we warmly welcome the family of Warrant Officer Francis Pentland Shelley, whose story will be told shortly. We are also honoured to acknowledge Brigadier Marcus Simpson, United Kingdom Defence and Military Advisor at the British High Commission, who is finishing his posting in Australia and returning home shortly. Thank you for your support, sir, and your support of the Australian War Memorial during your time in Australia. This evening, we'd also like to welcome Brigadier Nigel Best, who is the incoming United Kingdom Defence and Military Advisor at the British High Commission. Our best wishes are with you both as you undertake your new roles. We warmly welcome Group Captain Matt Cottrell, Distinguished Flying Cross retired, representing the Air Force Association. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Service Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read just one of the stories behind those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Warrant Officer Francis Pentland Shelley. Francis Shelley was born on the 8th of May 1919 in Branxton, New South Wales. Known as Frank, he was the second youngest of 4 children born to Cecil Shelley, a bank manager and veteran of the South African War, and his wife Irene. Frank received his education at Crookwell Public School and Goulburn High School. He completed his studies at Canberra Grammar School in 1937, where he developed a reputation as a keen athlete. He represented the school in hockey, cricket, athletics, football, and was a champion tennis player. On completion of his schooling, Frank began working as a clerk for the Bank of New South Wales, moving to Sydney, where he was employed at the Camperdown branch. He worked there during the day and in the evening studied economics at Sydney University, where he also played on the rugby team. When the Second World War broke out in 1939, Frank Shelley had already been serving in the militia for several months. He enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force in August of 1940 and began his initial training at Linfield. He later travelled to Wagga Wagga, where he continued training in Wirraway aircraft. In February of 1941, he qualified as a pilot and earned his flying badge. Shelley embarked for active service 3 months later, arriving in England at the end of August. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 RAAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, air gunners and flight engineers who throughout the course of the war joined Royal Air Force squadrons or Australian squadrons based in Britain. In October 1941, Shelley was made Flight Sergeant before joining Number 41 Squadron, Royal Air Force, where he began flying Supermarine Spitfire fighters in operational missions over Europe. In November 1941, one of his first raids, an attack on Fauville Distillery in France, saw the target bombed and the destruction of nearby storage tanks. In the new year, Shelley joined Number 452 Squadron, Royal Australian Air Force, which was part of 11 Group Fighter Command. Operating Spitfires, the squadron took part in operations over the English Channel, as well as France and Belgium, where it escorted bombing raids and conducted sweeps to engage and shoot down enemy aircraft. One of Shelley's most notable actions with this squadron occurred in March 1942, when he and his comrades joined an escort of bombers in an attack on enemy shipping at Le Havre in France. They were attacked by several enemy fighters, but succeeded in fending them off, destroying 2 German aircraft in the process. In April 1942, Shelley was posted back to Australia for home defence. He arrived in Melbourne a month later and was posted to Number 75 Squadron, based in Queensland, and that was at the end of June. On the 1st of July, Shelley was promoted to Warrant Officer before travelling with his unit to its new base at Milne Bay in New Guinea. Flying Kitty Hawk aircraft, the squadron operated alongside Number 76 Squadron. The 2 units were responsible for the defence of the area, which was being developed to enable the Allies to project air power over the north coast of New Guinea. It was a volatile position for Shelley's new squadron, stationed close to Japanese-occupied islands. On the 11th of August 1942, Shelley took off in one of 16 Kitty Hawks which departed from Gurney Field to intercept enemy aircraft approaching their base. Shelley made contact with the enemy and fierce fighting ensued. As he was returning to base, he encountered 2 more enemy aircraft and began firing on one. As his comrade, Flight Lieutenant Coker, began attacking the other. Disappearing into cloud cover, Coker did not see Shelley again, and Shelley failed to return to base. Over the days that followed, Shelley's comrades attempted in vain to locate him. He was listed as missing, presumed dead. In 1946, he was officially presumed to have been killed in action, likely after being shot down over Milne Bay on the 11th of August 1942. Today, he is commemorated on the Port Moresby Memorial in Papua New Guinea, among more than 700 others who have no known grave. Frank Shelley was 23 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Warrant Officer Francis Pentland Shelley, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorials Development Project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.